Alrighty, let's get this going here, folks. We're just gonna be doing a quick little playthrough of the physics escape room here. So yeah, let's get into it. If this map looks a little familiar to you, this is not a completely new map. It's an updated version of Escape Room Quest, but we added some little physics into the map. So yeah. This gray remote, by the way, if you ever get stuck, you can use it to get a hint, and that works relatively well. Some parts will not have hints, but for the most part, you'll be able to find hints. Alright, but the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to push this block over here, and use it to get up here, and hit this little gemstone. That's going to cause this platform to start moving. Yeah, hopefully I can catch the platform. Nope. We have to wait. But yeah, essentially this map is 4 dungeons. It's definitely a little bit inspired by like Zelda, and those type of like puzzle adventure games. And you kind of just get thrown into these dungeons and have a series of puzzles that you need to solve. And this is the first of 4 temples. This is the Forest Temple. And most of the puzzles are kind of like physics based. So right here we have these 2 pressure plates, but we only have 1 block. So we're going to need to move this block over to the blue plate. And that's going to open that gate up. Let's get that block out of there. And we'll bring it right over here onto this pressure plate. Beautiful. And then we'll be able to take this one off. Because if we would have taken this one off first, then that gate would have closed. We wouldn't have been able to get the second one off. And we'll bring that back right there. I'll pop the doors open. And we will get the torch, which will be the first of many items to come in this map. So yeah, as you kind of progress through the dungeons, you'll unlock items that will help you solve puzzles. Torch is not the most interesting item, but it's something. Now, if you've been looking around the dungeon a little bit, you may have noticed that there was a torch over here that you could not light previously, but now we are going to be able to light that torch, and we'll get into this room. Now, this room is going to have a locked door over here, and we're going to need to get a small key to get into there. If you look around, there is a little window up here, but we're not really going to be able to get up there. It's a little bit too far for us to jump. However, there's this lily pad that can bounce us up there. Easy peasy, no problem. And we'll get that little key. Pop the door open. And we're actually going to get a second item right away, which is the bow and arrow. A lot of items in the Forest Temple. Yeah, if you like this style of map, like the more like, and like recently I've been doing a lot of like escape room type puzzles. This one's a little bit more physics based, so if you like those physics puzzles, make sure to let me know. Planning on doing a part 3, but alright, let's get back on topic. We've got the yellow, green, yellow, red, red, blue, green. And you might be thinking, what does this code mean? And I'll show you what this means here. But this code is going to be able to guide us through these tree stumps here. So when you go into the tree stump, normally if you just go through random colors, you'll just get lost and it'll spit you back out into the temple. But if we follow that color code, which was yellow, green, yellow, red, red, and then blue, and finally green. That will get us on out, and this will bring us to the end room of the Forest Temple, the Forest Relic, which will scoop that up. And now the Fire Temple will be open. We'll be able to cruise on over here. Second temple. And as the temples kind of progress, they get a little bit more complicated. So the Fire Temple should be a little harder than the Forest Temple, a little bit bigger too. So, and so on and so forth with the water and desert temple. So here we've got some pillars that we can move around. And these pillars, they'll just kind of bounce back and forth. And we can stop those wherever. If we look on top of this pillar, there's actually a block up there. And if we move the thing, the block will move with it. And if we stop the pillar, that block will kind of wiggle. So if you kind of just move it and then stop it, you'll actually be able to like kind of wiggle that block off. Which is a bit of a tricky puzzle, but nothing too crazy. We'll be able to use that block to get up here for now. And when you come into this room, you'll see there's a no pickaxing sign. What that is essentially telling us is no digging, because we're going to need to dig under this grate here to get through. Which, that can be pretty tricky. That can be easy to miss. Alright, puzzle time here. So we've got this little checkmark grid here. And if you look on the ceiling, this is going to show us the solution. But the solution is not rotated the correct direction. So we're going to need to line up the direction the check marks are facing. So this bottom one right here would be this one, whereas this top right one here would be this one, because this is the direction the check marks are facing. When all is said and done, the pattern will look like that, and it matches the one on the ceiling. It's just rotated 90 degrees. And we'll get another small key, which will open up the rest of the dungeon for us. And we're not done in this room quite yet, but we'll come back around in a second. Bit of a travel here. Unlock this door. And here we have a little color puzzle. So you're going to have 6 torches that you can light. And when you light one of these torches, it's going to appear up here on this little combination thing. And the order of the torches is actually, the order that the torches appear up there is the order you need to turn them on. And so green is the first torch. And then blue is the second torch because it appears second right there. And then it comes over to, oh no it doesn't. It comes to red. I'll have to redo this, but that's a good example I'll show you. So this torch would be the 5th torch in the order, the yellow torch. So that was the incorrect order. Sometimes even the map creator forgets his own puzzles. So we've got green, blue, then we've got red, and then we come over here to purple, then yellow, and then finally we finish off with orange. And that will send the bridge over. Climb up the little ladder here. Or more like swim up the ladder. And this will give us access to the 2nd floor of the dungeon. We've got some stones blocking that passageway. That door's locked, so we can't do anything over there. So we'll come back over. And you may notice we're actually in the room that we were in earlier. And I'm just going to turn this pillar on. Let's get that moving. This ladder, we've now fixed it so we can go up here. And I'm just going to jump across these pillars. Like so. Use it to get over here. We can't get over to that blue area quite yet, but we will soon. Now if we look over here, we're going to have a bit of glass. That's that room down there. And we're going to need to break through that glass with something. But we're also going to have a mini elevator, which we can go down. And if we go down this elevator, we'll notice that it's blocked off by this gate. But we now have access to the elevator, and that's what's important. So we'll come back up. And I'll actually send this elevator back down just so it's down there, but we won't get on it. Now, this door is opened up by this pressure plate over here, but we're gonna need to bring an additional block over there to drop onto that glass. We're gonna need to smash through that glass with a block. So we're gonna grab a stone from in this room. grab this stone instead. Push that up the little ramp. Alright, now that we got a second stone, then we can go put this block over there. That gate will pop open. And then we're going to need to bring this stone over here. Take it up the elevator. And we'll drop it on the glass. And we'll have our chest with some C4. Which, if you've been paying any attention whatsoever, you'll probably know what this C4 is for already. Boom, boom, boom. Let's bring her on over. Blow that up. I'll stop that pillar right there, make this a little easier. And now we will finally be able to cross this little cavern and get over to the blue area. Make it across. I'm going to have a little puzzle in this room as well. So we're going to have these 4 torches in the corners that have no fire on them, and this center fire. When you stand in the fire, you're going to actually be like on fire. And you can bring that fire over to the other torches. And you're just going to need to light all of them. Can't be a fire temple without a little bit of fire. And we're going to get a second key, which we'll use to open that door across the way. But yeah, there's if you like this map, there's a part 2 to it. It's just called Escape Room Quest Part 2, which I might update that one and give it a physics update at some point as well. We'll just see what happens. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just make a part 3 instead. Because there's a lot of cool stuff that I still want to do with the physics. There's a lot of good puzzle ideas. Just gotta see. Alright. Big red ball. We're gonna bring the ball over here. Yeah, the physics system isn't perfect yet, because, like, some of the stuff is a little bit buggy. Like, you can kind of tell, like, this ball moves a little weird when the physics are enabled. Blow up more of that. And we've got a second elevator over here. Well, this one's a little bit bigger. This ball is going to be... Oh my goodness. That almost went off the edge. That could have been bad. Holy moly. Jeez. Living on the edge here. Alright. And we'll put this ball into this little hole right here. The ball is basically just the key to the final door. And that will pop it open. And that is the end of the fire temple. Halfway there. 2 out of 4 temples done. Over and done with. Next up we got the water temple. And the water temple is a bit tricky to get inside. You just jump into the water. Now we're gonna have this block up here, and it's a physics block, but it's stuck on this chain, so we're gonna need to break the chain either by pickaxing it or shooting it. Whatever works, just as long as you hit the chain. And we'll be able to push that block onto the pressure plates, which will open this gate. We're going to have another block here, but we're not going to be able to push it that way. And it looks like we're going to need to push it onto this pressure plate. But, can't do anything with that right now. Now we're going to have this locked little gate. And if we look under the water, there's going to be a diamond down there. And if you shoot that diamond, That will pop the gate open. And we'll get ourselves another key. Good old classic small keys. The trusty small key. Nothing more satisfying than finding one of them. Especially when you've been looking for it the whole game. Alright. Now we've got this thing that moves up and down. And if you look closely, there is a rock under the water. And we're going to need to attach this C4 to that. And then let it blow that rock. And that's going to lower the water down. And then we're going to have a nice little pipe puzzle here. Now, the pipes are not connected right now. And we're going to need to make it so that all of the pipes are connected and there's no openings showing. So we're going to use these little levers to turn the pipes until they look correct. And yeah, it's just kind of like a little puzzle solving. And then perfect. So once you get all the pipes lined up, the water will return. It's going to rise even higher than it did last time. And we are going to get a new item. The water remote. Not to be confused with the hint remote. And we'll be able to lower the water a little bit. And you can lower the water 2 levels. So there's a total of 3 water levels. So there's empty, medium, and then there's full. So that's empty, this is medium, and then this is full. And we're actually going to want to go right up here because there's a secret little passage we can go in. And that secret passage is going to bring us around. Going to lower the water back down. To behind this block that we saw at the start of the game. So we'll be able to push that block. But now that block's going to be stuck right there, so we're going to have to go back. Go back around. Lower the water. Again. And then here this block is, we'll push that. Now that's going to be stuck there, so we're going to go all the way back around again. Let's go back up to this hole, take a little shortcut. And then once that block gets pushed up there, this will open up, and we'll be able to fly up there. And we'll be in this room, which has a grate. And the grate is actually not attached to anything here. It's just floating on the water. So we can lower and raise this grate. So if we lower it down, and we lower it down again, there's going to be a switch right there. And we're not going to be able to get under the grate unless we raise the water and hide in this little cubby. Then we swim back out under and lower the water down. Then we'll be able to press that switch. And that switch will open that gate up there for us. And then we're just going to need to do the same thing to get out of here. Get in the cubby. This time get on top of the grate. And cruise back up. Like so. And this will give us access to open this grate, which was blocking the main room. So now we have a new passageway. And we're going to have this locked key right here, and we're going to need to get that. And the way we're going to get that is, if you were paying close attention at the start of the game, when we first opened this passageway, this door was right here. And when we put that block on the pressure plate, it slid to right there. And when you take a block off of a pressure plate, it will reverse whatever it did. So the door has 2 settings. So now it's reversed. Now we'll be able to get that key. Which that puzzle is very tricky. So if you got stuck on that, I completely understand. It's you have to really be paying attention to pick up on that. Then we'll be in the final little room here, which has these torches, and we're going to need to light all of the torches. But if you light a torch like that, and then you raise the water, it's going to put it out. So when water hits a torch, it goes out, and we need to light all of the torches. So that's not that big of a problem. We're just going to have to start from the top and work our way down. So we'll start here, light that torch. And then at the bottom too. And then we'll be up in the final room. And we have the water relic. Final dungeon here. The desert dungeon. Alrighty. Last but certainly not least, we have the desert temple. And right away we're going to want to turn on this red laser. And the desert temple is going to be a little bit more complicated than the other temples perhaps. A little bit more going on. And a little bit less direction as like in which way you're supposed to start off. But right now we have this red laser and it's going over that way. And that is not really doing anything for us. We're going to want to turn this so that it hits the red ball. Like so. I'll open up that gate. And we'll be able to get into this room here. And there'll be a crystal in this room that we can hit. And that will make the crate go up. And we're going to want to get underneath the crate. And then once we're inside the crate, we're going to hit that crystal again. Bring us back up. And we're going to turn on the yellow laser, which will do some good stuff for us in the future. A little tricky to hit the crystal here. Go back down. And get out of that crate. So now we have the yellow laser on, and that yellow laser is shooting through here, going over to there. And we'll cruise on over, mess around with that. Yeah, like I said, the desert temple is pretty big, so if you get a little lost in the desert temple, no worries. It's to be expected. So we've got the yellow laser right now coming here. We're actually going to want to push this out of the way, and that will open up this door over here, hitting the yellow ball in there. First we're going to have to go get around that way though. Cruise on over. In order to get over to that little yellow ball, we're going to need to build a little bridge because we're not going to be able to jump up here. So we're going to need to push these blocks to make ourselves a little bridge to get across the gap. And you really only need like 3 blocks to get across the gap. But there's 5 in this room, and you're going to need to build a bridge with 5 blocks for a little later on. And I'll show you why in a second. But it's a good idea just to put all 5 of them there right now, because we'll need it in a minute. Push them together. Yeah, I've got, with these new physics settings, I've definitely got some cool puzzles I want to try to make. Some Zelda-inspired puzzles that I think would work out really well. These physics seem fun. Just a little buggy right now. Alright, that should be pretty good. We've got our little bridge made. Walk on across. Here's that yellow ball that opened up this door. And we've got this opened up. Now we have a ball in here. And when we step right here, these swords are going to pop up. And they're a little buggy. But if we step back, they'll disappear. And we'll be able to hit that ball off of the pedestal. So then the swords do not come up around it. Or, well, they still come up, but the ball's out of there, so it doesn't matter. And then we'll be able to kick this ball over this way. And this is the reason we're going to need that bridge built. Because if we didn't have all of these there, then we couldn't push the ball across. We're going to push the ball this way. And if you've been looking around the dungeon just a little bit, you may have noticed that there's this giant wall that's crushing here. If you try to run through that wall, you'll just get sent back. But if we push the ball in there, that ball will jam the walls and it will stop the mechanism. So, a little tricky puzzle there. And now we are on over to this little section. We're going to have a 3-digit number code here with a yellow, a red, and a green digit indicated by the color of the platforms here. And the platforms are also the shape of stars. Go ahead and turn this mirror while we're at it. And if you've noticed, there is an observatory over here at the edge of the desert temple where we can look up at the stars. And if we look up at the stars, we'll notice 3 different colored constellations. A yellow one with 5, a red constellation with 2, and a green with 7. So that's going to be 527 for the code over here on the door. And let's just go ahead and turn this while we're at it. Turn that little guy around. So yellow was 5, green was 7, and red was 2. So we'll set the yellow to 5. Red to 2, and green to 7. And once you get that code in, the door should pop right on open. And we'll get our 5th and final item, the boomerang. It's boomerang time, folks. Any Avatar The Last Airbender fans always like Sokka when he's throwing his boomerang. Alright, so right now we've got this red ball lit up by the red laser. That is going to be good. We're going to need to light up the rest of these balls at some point. But, you know, there's always time to light those up later. We'll come back to it. Alright, we've got this purple crystal in here, and we can't quite hit it with any of our tools, or any of the tools that we previously had. But now with this newfound boomerang, we're going to be able to throw that around. Apparently I missed. There we go. And that will open up this gate over here and give us a small key, which we can use to open the door over yonder. Pop that open. And we'll come over here and we'll have this nice little puzzle. Now if we break through here, these blocks will all be breakable. And this is the room that we were just in with the boomerang. And you may have noticed this wall of blocks, but essentially this is going to be a maze. And I'm going to show you the correct pattern right here. You're going to want to go down. You don't want to go any further than this, because if you go down further, you're going to fall. Then you're going to go all the way across, stop before the last block. Then we're going to want to break up a little bit here, like so. Break this block. Now some of the blocks are metal. They're like a hard metal, and they can't be broken. So we can't break that block, which is fine. We're going to come here. We're going to jump on top of this block. Jump on top of that one. And then we will be on over. We can fix the ladder in case we need to get back up here for any reason. And we'll turn on the blue laser. And this is what that pattern looks like when it's broken. So you go down, cross, up, and then you finish right there. So if you would have gone straight forward, you would have broken that block and you wouldn't be able to use that to hop up there. So a little bit of a tricky maze, 2D like side scroller maze. Always a fun puzzle though. And then we really only have like one more puzzle left in the entire map, and then there's just a little bit of shenanigans going on with the lasers. But yeah, let's cruise on over here to the final little puzzle. We've got this room, And we have these colored shapes. We have a square, or like a diamond, we have a star, and we have just a normal square. And if you've looked around the dungeon, these shapes are actually positioned around the dungeon. So there's a green star above one of the doorways, there's a blue diamond, and there's an orange square. And those are the colors that we need to set these to. Now, in addition to finding those, we're also going to need to make the colors by combining colors. So red and yellow combined make orange, and we need this diamond to be blue. So the only thing that makes blue is going to be blue mixed with another blue laser. Button's acting up a little bit. There we go. We'll fix that at some point. All right, blue, and then this needs to be green, which is perfect, and then this needs to be red. All right, perfect. And then once that happens, the desert will pop on up. We'll be able to cruise on over here and turn on the green laser. So now we have all 4 of the lasers on. If you look at this green laser, it's actually pointing over here to this wall, and that is going to be over in the block area, in that little block maze, and we're actually going to need to go break that block because it is stopping the laser. Climb back up the ladder. I'm actually going to reset this because I'm just going to fall straight through. So we will break on down. Alright, there we go. There's that green laser coming through now. And we'll just drop down into the little dungeon here. Come back up the long way. And now all that's left to do is assemble the lasers. So first up, we've got green. We've got the green coming through the block maze. We've got that block broken. And then right now it's pointing to nothing. We're going to go ahead and turn that over this way. Bounce that thing over. And right now it's pointing at red. We can't have that. No, no, no. Turn that over to the green. Alright, we got 2. We've got blue up here. We're going to need to blow that up. Now that's hitting blue. Perfect. And all we need left is yellow, which if we just push this back in, it should line up perfectly. Yep, look at that. And that will pop that on open. All the colors together, combined to open up this little purple way. And we're going to have the desert relic. And that is the physics dungeon escape room. I hope you all enjoyed. This is really just an updated version of Escape Room Quest from way back in the day, but with the physics. So hopefully y'all liked it. And yeah, there'll be more stuff coming from me relatively soon, so be patient, folks. Alright, y'all. Thanks for playing, and hope you have a good day. Peace.